Today we're going to be examining the case of Tanya Nicole Kach. Tanya decided to run away from home after she was tricked into believing she was in love with a 38-year-old man that worked at the school. Unbeknownst to her, he had nefarious plans for her. She would be held in captivity for 10 years before being able to escape. Welcome to our channel, where we talk all things true crime. This video is for educational purposes based on public knowledge. Let's get started. In 1996, 14-year-old Tanya Nicole Kach was an 8th grader at Cornell Middle School. This was a new school for her because her parents had just divorced the year before, and she moved with her father to McKeesport, Pennsylvania. As you can imagine, moving to a new school at this age would have been extremely hard. It's been reported that Tanya was bullied by her peers as she struggled to fit in. She began drinking and smoking.
Tanya's home life was troubled and filled with family difficulties. Her father had full custody of her, but their relationship was strained. She wasn't close with her mother, having limited contact. Tanya often felt neglected and misunderstood at home, contributing to her feelings of vulnerability and isolation. Her needs for attention and emotional support would come from the 38-year-old security guard at school, Thomas Hose.
Hose would often take Tanya out of classes to talk to her. He became the emotional support she needed, a shoulder to cry on. He brought her small gifts like candy and even cigarettes. Tanya felt noticed and comforted when she was with Hose, possibly as a father figure initially.
Then one day, Hose saw Tanya skipping school. Instead of reporting her to the school, he promised to keep her secret. Then he kissed her and asked her to keep it their secret. Still only 14, this confused Tanya, and she began to think that she was in love. She decided she was going to run away and live with Hose. Tanya packed her bags and went to live with Hose, not telling anyone of her plans. On February 10, 1996, she was reported missing.
Tanya was put in the upstairs of Hose's home so she would be hidden from his parents and son that also lived there. After a while, Tanya realized she had been kidnapped. She wasn't allowed to leave the room and was given a bucket to use as a makeshift bathroom. Hose would bring her his leftovers from dinner or PB&J sandwiches. She would be locked in a closet when guests were over, only allowed to shower 1 to 2 times a week when everyone was out of the house. She spent her time reading magazines, watching TV, and listening to music with headphones on.
Tanya was kept in the home under conditions of manipulation and ill treatment. Hose took Tanya's virginity. He told her that if she tried to escape, he would smother her while she slept, keeping her in a constant state of fear and high alert. Hose told her that she was his possession, convincing her that she didn't have any other option but to stay with him. He manipulated her into believing that her family and the outside world did not care about her, all while being kept only 2 miles from her family's home.
Once Tanya turned 18 in 2000, Hose introduced her to his family as his girlfriend and moved her into his bedroom. He gave her the name Nikki Allen. A local beautician helped to alter her appearance to conceal her real identity. Judy Sokol cut and dyed Tanya's hair as a favor to Hose. Strict control over Tanya's movements and interactions continued to be imposed, ensuring she remained compliant and hidden from the outside world.
6 years later, in 2006, and at the age of 24, Tanya was allowed to get a job. She worked part-time at a local convenience store, but still had a strict curfew. Tanya gained the trust of the store owner, Joe Sparico, and his family. Eventually, Tanya told Joe the truth about her situation. Joe noticed the age difference between Tanya and Hose, and found it odd but didn't question it until now. Tanya, who Joe knew as Nikki, told him to look up missing children from 1996 and he would find her. To his horror, Joe was able to confirm Tanya's story and learned she had been missing for 10 years. Joe called his son, a retired police officer, who then sent police to Hose's home.
After enduring a decade of captivity and ill treatment by Thomas Hose, Tanya managed to feel safe enough to ask for help. In March 2006, she was rescued and Hose was arrested. Tanya would be reunited with her father, although the reunion would be short-lived as Tanya's father began blaming her for what had happened. Hose was charged for his crimes against Tanya. He tried to justify his actions against her, saying that he was helping her, but he did apologize. Tanya didn't accept his apology and stated that he stole her innocence.
I just say thank you. There is a God, and he brought my little girl back home.
If my father would have paid attention and been a father to me, and this never would have happened to me.
She says the joy of her reunion was short-lived.
Behind closed doors, things went downhill again. My dad started blaming me for what happened, saying you knew what you were doing. I said, Dad, I was 14.
Instead of going to trial, Hose pled guilty to his charges to avoid a longer jail sentence. He was looking at over 100 years. In 2007, Hose received a sentence for a bunch of charges that you can't say on YouTube, so we'll put it on the screen. He received a 5 to 15-year sentence per the plea deal. He was never charged with kidnapping.
Judy Sokol was charged with concealing Tanya's identity. Judy insisted to the end that she did not knowingly take part in a crime, but she was ultimately sentenced to 6 to 23 months in jail. Tanya has spoken publicly about her captivity and wrote a book titled Memoir of a Milk Carton Kid, the Tanya Nicole Kach story, co-authored with Lawrence Fisher. Her story has brought attention to issues of missing children and the importance of vigilance in protecting them. Tanya's dad and stepmom sued Tanya in 2012, stating that her book defamed and directly harmed them by untrue statements. As of 2024, we couldn't find anything on the outcome of this lawsuit.
Tanya Kach wrote this book about her life before, during, and after the 10 years she was held captive by Thomas Hose, a security guard at her McKeesport Middle School. In the book, Tanya says her turbulent childhood made her easy prey for Hose.
Tanya has since married and moved on with her life. Thomas Hose was released from jail in 2022 after serving his full sentence of 15 years. He is required to be on the registry of offenders for the rest of his life, thanks to Megan's Law. He moved into a halfway house after his release, and little is known about him today.
Tanya Kach's worst nightmare has come true.
This nasty, horrible, human monster of a person is getting out. You know, after what he has done, you know, I'm scared that he might do it again.
The man who held her captive for 10 years has been released from prison.
What do you think about today's case? Do you think there was more the school could have done to notice the weird relationship between a staff member and a student? Do you think Hose's sentence was fitting for the crime? Let us know in the comments below.